Hello viewers. Welcome to a new tour guide. Today we will be understanding about Florida. This is the second episode. You can watch our first episode and check the I button. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, and if you want to, you can comment your opinion about this video. So let's go. Understand about Florida. While Florida is considered part of the South, it originated not as a British colony but as a Spanish one. As a result, the state has a unique history. Although Florida was a founding member of the Confederate States of America and, like other southern states, shared the experience of slavery and racial segregation during its history, today, Florida is a very diverse state. It is almost evenly divided between Republicans and Democrats and contains several regions with slight cultural differences of their own that contribute to the state's diversity. Therefore, no one accent dominates in the speech of its residents, and it's often said that Florida is the only state that gets more southern the farther north you go, and that is indeed true in a cultural sense. Understand about history of history. Native Americans inhabited Florida for over 13,000 years before the arrival of European explorers, colonists, and slavers. It is estimated that there were some 350,000 inhabitants of many tribes when the Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon arrived in 1513 in search of, according to legend, the Fountain of Youth. The first European settlement dates back to the 1560s, with St. Augustine, established in 1565, being the oldest permanent European settlement in what is now the United States. However, this early settlement did not lead to the same level of rapid colonization in the British colonies to the north. The climate made a large-scale settlement, especially inland, difficult for Europeans used to milder temperatures. Europeans attempted accommodations, such as the New Smyrna Beach colony owned by a British man who employed former inhabitants of the Balearic Islands, were not always successful as challenges of climate and disease took their toll on the residents who themselves ultimately moved to St. Augustine. From this time onward, the state would not see large-scale economic and population expansion until Florida's statehood in the 19th century, when agriculture, notably orange trees, and later tourism would achieve essential roles in the state's economy. Along with the climate challenges, battles and competing claims for the region posed a challenge to the region's settlers. However, many Africans and African Americans moved to Florida during the territory's early years because King Charles of Spain had issued a royal proclamation freeing all slaves who fled to Spanish Florida if they converted to Catholicism. Native Americans, including members of the Calusa tribe, fought effectively to defend their tribal lands from the European colonization of the region. Therefore, it was some time before Europeans established colonies. However, once Europeans took control of the Florida region, oppression and killing of Native Americans, often as a result of war or disease, was tragic as it was in many other areas of the Americas. Following substantial depopulation of the state's native tribes, the Seminole tribe moved in. It established itself in Florida in the 18th century. However, several conflicts between the Spanish, attempting to maintain Florida, and Americans attempting to annex the region, made an already disputed territory's political situation complex for Native Americans and settlers. Native Americans living in Florida fought hard and continued to guard their independence after Spanish Florida was ceded to the United States in 1821. The new territory of the U.S. was a slave plantation economy, much like the rest of the South at the time. The Seminoles gladly welcomed runaway slaves and accepted them into their tribe. However, after the Second Seminole War, almost the entire tribe was deported west of the Mississippi River as part of the Trail of Tears. Florida was admitted to the Union as a slave state in 1845 but seceded and joined the Confederacy with the rest of the South in 1861. Largely untouched by the American Civil War, the state enforced Jim Crow segregation laws against its massive black population for a century after the Confederates' defeat. By the early 20th century, Florida had more lynchings per capita than any other state. However, 20th century migrations fundamentally changed the character of Florida to the extent that many people no longer consider much of the state to be culturally Southern. 1. The move of 1/5 of the state's African American population to the northern United States was part of the Great Migration during the first decades of the 20th century. 2. The arrival of an increasing number of white retirees from the north after the spread of air conditioning in the 1950s. 3. The arrival of several waves of Cuban immigrants after the victory of Fidel Castro in 1959 established themselves primarily in South Florida, particularly Dade County. Florida has also seen significant influxes of Latino immigrants from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Central and South America, and Mexico, and there have also been many Haitian immigrants. Understand about culture of Florida. Florida is geographically the southernmost of the contiguous United States, and it is a unique blend of societies. The Florida Panhandle, much of North Florida, rural areas of Central Florida, and the Florida Heartland remain part of the cultural region of the South, where you will find traditional Southern cooking, entertainment, dialect, and lifestyles, much as you would expect in states like Georgia or Alabama. Generally, the further south you go in the state, the more unlike the South it seems, and although Southern culture can be found in every region of the state, it is not always prevalent. Cities such as Tampa and Orlando offer the feel of the South, alongside many other cultures. There are a lot of Southerners in these areas, but also many people from different regions like the Midwest or the Northeast. On the other hand, Miami is unique in that it feels like a cross between an American metropolis and a major Latin American city. Some Seminole Native American reservations and villages throughout southern Florida, namely in the Everglades, and their indigenous culture can be experienced by visiting a shop and browsing arts and crafts. The southernmost Florida Keys offer yet another flavor, full of beach life's casual, slow-paced atmosphere. In short, Florida is a full-fledged region of the United States in its own right. Much of the southern part of Florida is inhabited by people of Hispanic or Latino origin people. The substantial region of majority Hispanic or Latino places extends north to Orlando. There are large Cuban and Puerto Rican populations in Miami and the south side of Greater Orlando, respectively. The white population is higher to the north, and by the northern border with Georgia and Alabama, the Hispanic Latino population is deficient. The Black or African American population is primarily on the mainland and throughout the state, with historically black communities and history in the Daytona Beach metro area, Jacksonville, and Gadsden County in the Panhandle. The ethnic diversity of Florida, while not remarkably cosmopolitan outside of specific urban centers, has contributed substantially to the culture, with Spanish spoken in some areas. Still, in the north, a tendency toward American cuisine and the English language exists with few alternatives. Much of the population of this region is known by outsiders as rednecks. There are smaller communities of ethnic minorities, including those of Anglo or Franco-Caribbean, or Middle Eastern origin. Still, these have a more negligible impact on the state's culture than the largest ethnic groups. Due to a combination of factors, despite the state's high urbanization relative to many other southern states, it does not lean as liberal as many comparably urban and ethnically diverse forms in the north. The state is considered at the tipping point between left and right. Still, despite the prominently right-wing government that scraped through the 2018 elections, the state as a whole is middle of the road for the U.S. Orlando, state capital Tallahassee, Fort Lauderdale, and college town Gainesville lean left, while most of Miami, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Southwest Florida, parts of the East Coast and rural inland and Panhandle lean conservative when compared with demographically similar communities in other parts of the country. However, almost all regions of the state are politically diverse. This is all about the second episode. Thank you for watching this video entirely. You can watch our other tour guides about the USA if you want. Then you can visit our channel. If you liked this video, I will repeat it. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.